Isn't it? Isn't that against regulations? Hmm. Mm. You mean that it gets lost between the administrative papers, basically? That is a bit contradictory in terms of thinking. Like you said that people voted to have the location be permanent. Is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How I understand the context you're trying to paint. So basically, it would be a case of this being such a quote unquote minor issue that the officials, the higher ups, wouldn't be quite bothered if it did go away or another. So you've got a lack of opinion on this, and any opinion can swing in the outcome in one direction or another. Yep. Hmm. Hmm. So yeah, there is a basically a complete imbalance in terms of demographics when it comes to the representation of the local level populace. Yeah, yeah, that is true. Hmm. Yes, that is true. Hmm. Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's all about turnout from the younger demographics. it's all about this. Hmm. That is true. That is true. You're gonna run mostly into people which whom if they don't see a problem with their current way of life, they won't see a reason to change things up. So you have to choose your demographic when you're gonna address them. And yeah, it's one of that is true. That would be quite funny, but indeed that is not possible. You've got to start by the lower end of the echelon, and you can only do what's in front of you at first. For me personally, I live in a residential complex. Mhm. Okay, you would have to address the local town hall, I believe. Hmm. Okay, I see. I see. Um, you aren't even on there? Like,
Didn't enable my microphone up until now.
oh, oh, damn.
Yeah. Let me fix that by just starting streaming again, maybe.
Oh, well, that's the learning part, the learning part.
Yeah, that's the learning part. I just didn't select a device and I wasn't live on
Yeah,
air.
rookie
So
mistake.
yeah, hello guys, welcome to the Eurocast. Another introduction because I wasn't on air. So good that you told me that I was cutting out because I literally wouldn't check that.
Yeah,
That's
I
just so
found
obvious.
strange that yeah, I found strange that we were losing viewers in the chat when there were two people over there for no reason. So I was I found that suspicious.
Okay, let's see if we can regain the concurrent views. Um, so yeah, basically the current topic. Holy shit, that related so much. Fortunately, no, I don't have the recording. Shit. Anyway, so local government. Uh, that's something that let's talk about this again.
Yeah.
So why it's important? Your local government actually makes the rules that your life actually works around.
Yes.
Because if you cannot park on your own street, that's your local government. If you cannot go to your bus on time because the stop is in a stupid location, it's your local government.
Yeah.
I'm not, of course, saying that, hey, I'm late all the time. Let's blame our local government for it. Not how that works. But you get my idea.
I understand. I absolutely see what you're talking about because I had a situation in which one of the streets near me, which was a crossroad in which you get multiple cars passing by, was recently renovated because the sidewalk were not up to standards. There were not enough space for people to cross the roads without having to tiptoes around the road simultaneously. So yeah, I can see how certain parts of a city can be quote unquote abandoned by a local government, and generally, in my experience, it's basically older designs that have stayed without being renovated by the administration over the course of the years.
Exactly. Exactly. And usually the culprit for that is on paperwork, you just see a stop number, a street name, or something, but that person making the decision doesn't live there.
No,
Not
absolutely
how
not.
that usually happens. So that's why your input matters so much. Because legitimately, this is the conundrum that we've had on our own neighborhood. They moved the bus stop to a place that did actually make sense temporarily, though. So people did write in to make it permanent. They made it permanent, but they didn't move the crossing, like the pedestrian crossing. Now you have to break the law to get to your stop because, I mean, you won't be walking 50 meters to the right just to, go in the mud some bit to
Yeah,
get to the stop, right? So that's stupid because, of course, nobody wants mud on their shoes. So now
absolutely
I
not.
want to move that. So what you can actually do, and you can actually do it anywhere, is to write to your local traffic authority. Ask about the current state of that place, like how is it in the documents. That's the public information phase. Because, usually why things are the way they are, there is usually data behind that.
Yeah,
So by getting access to the data, you can point out, for example, that, hey, this stop number is called a lot, even though it's on demand. Maybe made it permanent or something, because this is the data that your local public transport authority does collect. How much, how many people are hailing the bus, even though the stop is on demand.
does this data basically come from the companies which handle public transports
Yeah,
and they share it with the local government?
yeah, they have to. It depends on your local regulation. And by the way, I cannot hear your background. So when it comes to local regulation, for example, in Warsaw, you have this thing where there is, municipal transport authority, and they write the contracts to make sure the lines are served by a tram, by a bus, by metro, whatever.
Okay.
Then they have suppliers, like, service suppliers. For example, a municipal bus authority is a service supplier for them.
Yeah.
Then they need statistics, like how many passengers did they drive on which line, etc. Because usually buses have people counters in the doors.
I see.
So you know how many people do get in and do get off. So
Yes.
that's a good info to have. And based on that, you can make adjustments by suggesting stuff that is in the data that they have access to, but they didn't just see things. They didn't add one to one.
Hmm. Yeah, it's basically fine tuning to best accommodate the needs of the users, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like information about government services that they have to provide for you. Like there's this journalist on Reddit that actually makes basically information requests from the public authorities for stuff like local religion studies funding. So, how many students are enrolled in religious studies, for example, that the
Yeah.
government needs to pay for? So, they did basically bring up that number, and this was a few million. And this was just for Wrocław, the city.
I am curious, but now that you bring this up, is there a separate study done by the government and by private actors? And if there are a disconnect between the results, like what about it?
I mean, there is. Polish education system is complicated. Like you have private schools that have accreditation, for example. When it comes to religion, what I'm talking about is that you're in middle school, you can choose to go to religion. Like you choose a subject. It's either religion or it's human morality.
Okay. Morality. Yeah.
So basically, this is what they teach you in school. So you pick either of those. And I mean, as long as anybody is like, hey, let's not create harm upon anybody else, so harm doesn't go back to me. As long as you agree with that part, it's usually chill.
I
Like
see.
by me. But like the stuff that I don't vibe with is that during that religion lessons that are from Catholic Church, we not only pay for that, we pay for a priest to do it. And that
Oh.
is tax free.
Hmm.
This is what I don't like.
Oh, so basically, you mean that it is? Would it be accurate to say that it is a remnant of the old system, basically?
The old, yeah. But this is stupid. This isn't how it should work. Like my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, if you're Catholic and you want to study your religion, go to your
Mhm.
church. That's my simple ask. Just go to church to do it, not in
Yeah.
school.
Ve- Yeah, you explained to me a few podcasts ago that there hadn't been well, not as effective, quote unquote, but a total separation of the church and the state yet in Poland.
Yeah, there isn't such thing really. So that's also a good thing to look, because if you ask the Catholic Church, they will tell you that 95% of Polish people are Catholic. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
dig into this data, it turns out that only 40% of Polish children that get to choose religion.
Hmm. And do you have the data for those who come from religious and those who do not?
And not that in depth, unfortunately. I mean, you
Oh, yeah.
can go, via
Yeah, yeah,
demographic data to pick that up. But, like the Catholic Church definition of a Catholic is somebody that was baptized.
yeah.
Usually, children are baptized here, even if parents don't really believe in that voodoo bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see.
So, usually, you do see people that are baptized like me, but they don't believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at one point, it's just a ritual. It doesn't really implicate any of the participants' future. So yeah, I can see how.
Exactly. And this is basically my stance on that. Like, I'm deeply irreligious. Let's say that.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, I don't see a place in Polish schools for religion studies. This is such a breach. I mean, you're inviting a third party organization, which is the Catholic Church, to
Mhm.
organize a subject that is mandatory in school, that people can be felt. using that subject.
Oh yeah, I can absolutely see what the problem is with this. I mean,
I
when you
remember
consider
I've
when
had
you
a
consider
guy
the facts, yeah.
in my middle school that started to doubt, right? Like he was religious, he did go to the religion thing, but he started to doubt. And the priest
Hmm.
thought this was a great idea to give him a 1 on religion on his diploma, so he repeats the class,
For
which is just sick because he doesn't believe.
is the religious study like a big part of the diploma, like on the final
No, it's
note?
just one subject, but it's a mandatory
Oh,
subject
oh yeah, okay,
if you
I
choose
see.
it. And they designed the scoring by themselves. There's nothing you can argue with. This is a separate organization. This is not only a teacher, this is a priest. You know,
This
he,
sounds really criminal when you talk about it.
yeah, like, you have two different viewpoints. So you have other teachers in your school that their mission is to teach you stuff that's provable, that's science, that you can repeat. And
Hmm.
then you have this religion subject, which is judged based on what exactly? Because I don't get that.
That is true. I am surprised that this
Why it's
how.
scored?
Mhm.
Why you get a grade from that? You know what
But
I mean?
how does this serve you in your later life? That is the question.
I mean, I just see it as a weird, stupid thing that I had to go through in my youth. That's basically how I see that. The stupid thing is that in my middle school, I couldn't even get out of religion. I was forced to go into that because you had only one day when you started at that school to submit a paper that said, "Hey, I want to opt out of religion,"
Like you
which
had to
is
do enough,
stupid. Yeah,
like
I had.
for your personal practice, like outside of the studies, you mean?
Yeah, and it had to be signed by your parents as well. So it was stupid because you're in middle school, you can choose some things for yourself, right? And it has no impact. Like you'd rather go to morality studies. And what they did is that on the first day when you could bring your statement that you don't want to be a part of it, they actually said to me that, oh, but it might be that you will stay after school if you reject religion. Like
Hmm.
it won't be in your program. You will need to stay after school. So I was like, okay, fuck this. I will change it later then or something if I see how it goes. And of course, it was nothing like that. It was during school hours. And by the way, if you didn't pick religion, you had a free hour to do whatever you wanted.
Hmm.
So
So
that was
yeah,
stupid. That was just to so the priest has employment. Like my feeling.
yeah, this doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, like no offense, but this sounds a bit dystopian when you tell me this like
No
that.
shit. I know. I live here.
Like,
So, of course it's dystopian. I can tell you that. It's dystopian. 100%.
but under better leadership, it's going to get better. I believe so. I believe so.
We'll see how it goes, honestly. But, when it comes to education in Poland, you need to survive, basically. That's my statement. You need to survive so much bullshit because teachers will try to force your religious beliefs upon you. They will.
Hmm.
It's not an if, it's a given.
Yeah, I can. I believe you. I believe you.
And I got to religion and I had to spend 3 years having meaningful discussions, such as, so you don't admit this is a miracle? No, I don't. I don't believe that was a miracle. I think there is an explanation for that you aren't giving me.
Yep, yep. I mean, at this point, yeah, it's basically um, you've got you've got to make use of your personal rights. But I don't know how the situation is in Poland, but when it comes to the use of rights to better manipulate quote unquote your environment, I believe we can look at an example such as the US. for example?
I mean, when it comes to schooling, I would say that Polish schooling is way better than the American schooling still. Just as
I,
a system,
I
it's
meant
still
like the
better.
transition for the FOIA, basically.
Yeah, but like we are a post-Soviet economy. If you go to school, your teachers remember Soviet times, and some of them remember them fondly.
I was gonna ask you about this, like how did this survive like Soviet occupation? Because the Soviets, I believe, were deeply irreligious. So how how did this practice survive at all? Was it like out of spite? Like what?
Out of spite, basically. People here were very resistant to what the Russians told them, and the church seemed somebody you could trust in that scenario. That's why lots of people have attachment to Catholic Church here still.
Mm.
But like the current attachment that we have to the Catholic Church isn't healthy. It's not good. So it's at least good that you can write an email to your local government and ask how much they pay church to provide that very important lesson.
I see, I see.
So you can at least look at the bills. And
Yep.
let me tell you, those are thousands of zlotys that are just burned. You will never get them back. They're non-taxable. It's bullshit.
Yep.
And they still have to grade people, which is also bullshit. Like, I was scared that I will get a 1 on religion, for example, because I
Oh
just
yeah.
couldn't get out. Like, I was scared of that.
Yeah, it will mess up your entire future, like just because of the system that the way it is set up. Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah, it can. It can and absolutely will. So that's the scary part, and you can't get out afterwards. So
How
that's
about
stupid.
the professional world? Like, did you encounter as much religious influence and
None at
prerequisite?
all.
Yeah.
None at all. I would say even the reverse. People that I work with, I've had some run ins with some conservatives that weren't too happy to work with me, but we still made it through because,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a regular guy at the end of stuff. But, religion usually isn't a major topic at work in general
Mm-hmm.
in Poland, like at all. You're the weirdo if you're going to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
This isn't the norm. People will change your stance. People will change their stance towards you if they hear about that. They will try to not offend you.
So you think there is a shift in attitude compared to a few years ago?
Oh yeah, massive. With the abortion ban, Catholic Church didn't waste a second to make sure that everybody knows that the Catholic Church wanted abortion to be banned, and now it's banned.
Yeah, that's a good way to antagonize a huge portion of the population.
Yeah, like literally 50%, right?
Yeah, that's fucking dumb.
And most of people that are in a relationship like me, they aren't very happy about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so not even 50%, like you can count 60%, maybe even more.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of scary because you have this religious lobby in Poland that's still trying to work its magic. Even though there was this government, even though the government was being taken over by the current ruling party, they tried everything to stop it.
Mm.
They
Yeah, I
didn't go to
understand.
Trump level yet, but you know
Is it because they haven't had the occasion to, or because they can't
they
simply?
haven't had the occasion to really, like, they just didn't have so many angry people in one place to force something like that.
Yeah, but like in terms of evil, they're basically the same as the Republicans in the US, basically.
Yeah, they are bad at stuff like that. Like, I don't think they would try to take over the government. I don't think that would happen. The reason for
Mhm.
that is very, very easy. um they don't have much physical strength, you know?
Yeah, I can see how basically they don't have a support base that's reliable enough for them to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, they would just get a bunch of angry grandpas without the tactical gear.
Yeah, that would be funny.
By the way, tactical, not tactical.
Hmm.
Because oh my god, most of the gear that was present during January 6th is a gear you don't storm the government with.
That would be a funny sight. I mean, if they're so eager to fight, you can send them in Ukraine at any moment. The Ukrainian can use them, I think.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing with Trump. There are right-wing militias in the U.S. that are established. With peace, there isn't such thing. They're deeply scared of people having guns and things like that.
That is interesting. That is
Even
very
though that's
interesting.
still easy.
So, is there an active effort by the government to repress militias, or is it just the fact that there are guns that is pushing them back, quote unquote?
Oh man, what can I say? I can say only to you that I was arrested for having weed, and now I have a prescription for weed. So now I
Mm-hmm.
have magical weed that doesn't get me arrested. But before that, I had this magical weed that would get me arrested. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, you've got the magical papers now.
Yeah, now I have the magical papers, and now there's, this bubble that you cannot judge me over. Like, I can literally smoke up in public, and it's just taking my medication.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're looking forward to the cops talking to you. You can just pull the papers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love it. Mister, right now you're the guy that would look down on somebody taking their morphine if they have cancer or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you've got the speech prepared in your head already. I can see.
Yeah, of course, of course. So but this is a great show of where the priorities are. Oh my God, somebody smoking a joint, throw him into the jail. When in reality there are like way worse things happening every single day, and nobody cares about that.
Like I'm sorry to make this about basically the US, but this makes so much parallels with the Republican Party because they're crying about the loss of moral values, are crying that people are not going to church anymore, this type of stuff, while basically there's the
Yeah, why you're
housing crisis
threatening
going
me with a
on.
good time?
Like, man, we have a housing crisis going on. We've got a migratory crisis going on. You're talking about people smoking and not going to church? Like, what?
Yeah, that's your problems. That's your problems. That's how you want to spend your time. Wow. Just wanted to confirm, right?
Like,
Like this
yeah,
is your priorities. Yeah, but I get what you're talking about. This is just so stupid. Like, we have so many issues that we need to go over, yet we allocate funds towards stuff like war on drugs, which is lost. Like,
yeah,
let's
like,
be
yeah.
honest, the drug won. The drugs won. The drugs are ready for round two.
Mm, that is true.
And yeah, sure, like they did take down Escobar once he didn't have shit and couldn't do anything.
Another one is just gonna take his place. I mean, you just gotta look at
Yeah, and they were
AI.
still like focused on arresting Escobar when there's a whole different cartel that was running shit at that time. It's stupid. It's stupid. And they even did make peace with that cartel to catch Escobar. You know?
Yeah,
Well, like at this point, just admit that you like working with criminals.
like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, at best, I can say you could say that's a hollow victory, a pyrrhic victory. Like, But yeah.
That's not a victory. That's a loss. I mean, that Cali cartel was pumping out so much cocaine, way more than Escobar at his prime.
Hmm.
And the DA was like, "No, let's catch Escobar," which is just like, isn't your thing to catch people smuggling drugs? Why are you in bed with them?
I suppose it would be the sunk cost fallacy. Like Escobar has been the face of the cartel of the traffic for so long, and they've invested so much effort in catching
Oh
him.
yeah, it was just that, man. It was just that, nothing more, nothing more. And if something like that shows up, and this is your victory, what's your loss like?
Oh, that is a very good question. I do not want to know what this looks like. I
Yeah,
mean, I can have an idea vaguely. You'd have to look at Mexico, at the Philippines type of stuff, and that's not a good picture at all.
yeah. I mean, if there is that worst picture, I would say it's still Colombia. It was still run by a cartel. You just cut Escobar.
Yep.
And Escobar was like, staying in the jungle for the last how many years?
I don't even know. I didn't follow this quite enough.
Yeah, but Escobar basically was staying in the jungle or with his family, anything. Like, we don't know. We don't know.
Yep.
But then he appeared again because he wanted to talk to the journalists because he was very full of himself, of course. So he wanted to make a deal that now they can arrest him, but now they didn't want to arrest him. They wanted to kill him.
Yeah, it was too late. Should have made the deal earlier. Now he stepped on too many toes. Yeah, I can see how this
Yeah,
thing.
and now you have this Cali cartel, right? They pump out way more cocaine than Escobar ever could, and the DA just doesn't look at them.
I mean, sunk cost fallacy, man. They couldn't admit after investing so many resources, after selling to the populace that Escobar was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
main face behind this, that it was not gonna work, even after he was taken down.
There's no way to sell to people that, hey, so now we don't focus on Escobar because now we have like 5 Escobars on our radar. Yeah, that's not a win.
Yeah, like how is there more Escobar than at the beginning? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
How there's more Escobars than in the beginning, and how is the narcos being worse in Colombia after Escobar than pre Escobar? How the hell could it happen? I mean, you had the DEA on the ground. They knew what Cali Cartel was doing the whole time.
yeah,
They knew they were smuggling tons of cocaine, way more than Escobar ever could. But they just didn't look at it because, Escobar.
it's all about public perceptions. The war on drugs, it was to make the government appear tough, look tough.
I remember what Obama said after killing bin Laden, that this isn't a day of glory. We've just killed a person. This isn't the day for glory. This isn't, to dig how did he die or something like that. He died
Yeah,
fighting. He was a terrorist.
yeah.
But now he doesn't exist anymore. I'm just going to tell you that, people. But it doesn't mean that we don't have more issues on our radar.
I mean, yeah, that is true. At the end of the day, he was just the face of a larger predicament. Somebody else is just gonna take his place. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Shit, now I wonder, should we like re-upload this? Just starting from the second time I started streaming, or
I mean, yeah. After the moment yeah, you could
we
just do
have no
that.
people watching. That's what I'm worrying. You know what? Let's end it here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so see everybody in a week. Sorry for the audio issues. The full podcast will be uploaded.
Yep.
See ya.